So let's go down to South America, the continent with the fewest number of countries, only 12. But I mean, it's a vast continent. It's really, really exciting. And I'm going to talk about something that not a lot of people have done.
Okay. I know that's a bit unfair, but you will hear the follow-up to that in this episode with Gunnar Garfors, who is my friend and the first person to travel to every country in the world twice. So when he shares a list of up-and-coming destinations around the world, I don't take it lightly because he has been to all of these places. And the goal here is to help you identify those destinations you might want to get to before mass tourism arrives in the coming years. And I know you're going to love this. It's all about upgrading your bucket list here on the Zero to Travel podcast this week. Thanks for being here and welcome to the show, my friend.
You're listening to the Zero to Travel podcast, where we explore exciting travel-based work, lifestyle, and business opportunities, helping you to achieve your wildest travel dreams. And now your host, world wanderer and travel junkie, Jason Moore.
Hey, it's Jason here with ZeroToTravel.com. Welcome to the show, my friend. Thanks for hanging out, letting me bring a little travel into your ears today. This is the show to help you travel the world on your terms, to fill your life with as much travel as you desire, no matter what your situation or experience. And there is nobody else I know that has filled their life with more travel than our guest today. He actually shares an estimate for what he has spent on travel, going to every country in the world twice and then some. I swear, the dude travels so much, I think he's going to be the first person to go to every country in the world 3 times. I don't know. You'll hear about his upcoming book project, which is really interesting, and we got to record this interview in person for you. And as I said at the top, when Gunnar puts out a list of destinations to visit, I do take it seriously because he is a true expert. He is on the road more than anybody else I know, and he has been to every country twice, as we mentioned, and more. So pay close attention. This is a fun one. You're going to have a blast, not just hearing about the destinations, but Gunnar's always an interesting guy to talk to, and he's got plenty of stories, and he shares a few in this episode along the way. Don't forget, by the way, before we dive in, if you want to get in touch, Jason at ZeroToTravel.com is my email. We'd love to hear from you. This is a two-way conversation. This is a community. And I make this show for you. So if you have any feedback, advice, guests you want me to bring on, anything at all, just hit me up, leave me a voicemail, drop me an email, let me know. And if you want to get the latest episodes each week in your inbox for free, ZeroToTravel.com/newsletter. Sign up over there. Okay. Without further ado, let's slip and slide into this interview and stick around on the back end. I will share some food for thought that might help you reprioritize your bucket list. I shared this recently in a newsletter, and since we're doing the upgrade your bucket list theme this week, thought I would share this one little tip with you on the back end of the conversation. For now, please enjoy my chat with Gunnar Garfors, and I will see you on the other side, my friend. Thanks for listening. Well, the intention behind this episode is to give you a jump on your travel plans for 2024 and for the immediate future, let's say, or the near future. And I have none other than true travel expert, friend of the show, personal friend, the man who's the first to have been to every country in the world 2 times. You've heard him on the show before, perhaps. If not, you should go into the archives and listen. Mr. Gunnar Garfors, welcome to the Zero to Travel podcast, my friend.
Yeah, you're way too kind. You're way too kind. What an introduction. I should bring you to our podcast shows that we do around Norway and have you introduce me. Like, I'd love that.
Yeah. I mean, I just have to get my Norwegian a little bit better.
Well, Norwegian is excellent. I like your little American swing to it.
It's nice that you tell everybody this. Give me some false hope anyway. So I want to let people know we're in your apartment. It's an inspiring space, man, to record a podcast because you have 2 things I love. You have 3 things. Well, actually, a giant world map, 3 clocks.
Well, of course. Yeah, we have to keep track of times in various parts of the world.
Just describe the clocks because they're so cool. And where they're keeping time and why those locations.
Yeah, so these are traditional ship clocks in brass. I bought them in India many years ago, and underneath each and one of them there is a plaque with names of the places they show the time from. So one is DC. I had to include the US. I've lived there twice, once in DC, and I really enjoyed the time there back in 97, 98. So that's the one to the left. And then in the middle, it's Naustdal, which is my village on the Norwegian west coast, and also Oslo time. But I mean, everybody goes after Oslo time, so Naustdal time is much nicer.
That's very cool.
And then to kind of spread it around the world, and one of my sisters, she studied in New Zealand, so then Auckland is the last brass clock on the wall.
I love it, man. I love that it's spanning the entire globe in true Gunnar Garfors fashion.
Well, we like we're easily traveled, let's say.
And you have the old time radio, which I absolutely love with the big world map. So it's very inspiring space. And
there's a secret with the radio actually, because it's one of those big ones that's a piece of furniture. It works as a table and as decoration, and it also works as a radio. But I've taken out all the stuff inside where you had your LPs and such, and that's now a bar. So if you open the doors, you can have a gin tonic or something.
Amazing. Okay. Can I have that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Just going to take that with me today. I did drive here. I love that we're connected. I love that we've built this friendship over the years, just starting with the podcast and both living in Oslo, although you're rarely here.
Oh, we seem to meet every time I'm here, which is great.
It's great. I love texting you because I never know what's going to come back, dude. Like the last time I'm like, hey, man, it's been a little while. Like we should, you want to hang out or something? And you're like, oh, I'm floating down the Amazon on a river barge or something, and you sent me this picture of you and Jackie and your fiance now. Congratulations, by the way, in a hammock with like just a load of other hammocks on this boat, and I'm just like, what a cool friend. Like, I just never know what I'm gonna get back. So just know when you text me the pictures back, I'm loving it, man.
Yeah, it's always nice to share, what you're doing. And I love your questions and your feedback. So why the hell are you there?
What are you doing, man?
Yeah.
I know. I don't just ask a lot of questions on the podcast. I ask a lot of questions in real life about, like we went out to dinner a week ago or 2 weeks ago, week and a half. Like that could have been a podcast, like we, talking about travel and life and,
slagging off the food and all the rest of it. Yeah.
This is
that
what
was
we
great
do.
fun.
We're going to get into these 7 up and coming destinations for 2024 in just a minute. But I did want to also mention your website, garfors.com. I'm going to force you to put like an email opt-in in there so people can sign up and keep tabs, because you got all these amazing books in Norwegian. They're going to be coming out in English. You have exploded on TikTok.
Yeah, who would have thought?
Tell us about that.
No, that's crazy. That was I have such insight into social media, so I just immediately that's bullshit actually.
Yeah.
That was Jackie. She said I was on TikTok since a year and a half ago, just because a friend said, "Oh, you have to be on TikTok," and I probably had 200 followers, and my posts got like 9 views and stuff. And then Jackie said, there's this travel trend going around TikTok. You should try it. And the trend is you have to use a certain kind of music, and then you put a photo of yourself or some travel photo that you have, and then you swipe to the right, and then you see how many countries you've been to on an app. You put it into an app called Bin, and then you see, you've been to 49 countries, for instance.
And it's colored in, so it kind of visually shows you.
Yeah. So 49 countries, that's around 25%. And mine is 198 countries, 100%. And it says, I had one goal on the first picture, then you swipe right, and then 100% achieved. ... So, there is more. And you swipe right one more time, and it says twice.
Yeah, right.
And that just totally blew up. So now it's got 8.5 million views or something. So it's insane. And I've got now 20,000 followers on TikTok. The last 10 days. It's crazy.
That's crazy. So yeah, we'll link to it so you guys can check it out and follow him over there. But I love that some of the comments were like the one person said, "That's the ultimate flex." You know?
I suppose it's kind of a show off, but you know.
But you're like, this post took me 15 minutes to put together. I'm like, no, it didn't. It took like 18 years or whatever.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
however long it took you to travel to two countries. What was the total time it took you to travel?
Yeah,
to both
yeah,
countries?
yeah. 18 years. Started in 2000.
Yeah, I mean,
and, yeah. So it's
So-
you know, it's been a while.
So there you go. If you wanted to hear about the longest ever TikTok post, the longest it ever
and
took
probably
to
the
create
most
a
expensive,
TikTok.
to be fair. You know, it took me bloody, I don't know, $300,000 to make this post.
Right. There you go.
At least.
Is that an official number?
No. I'm an estimate. I think I was sitting down thinking about it. I'm thinking it's between $200,000 and $500,000 somewhere.
Okay.
So I'm guessing around $300-400 to be more exact. But
Now,
I have no idea. I've just spent way too much money on travel. On the other side, I would never exchange those experiences
No.
for anything. So
Yeah.
I'll just be poor. You know, it's good.
Well, I mean, it seems to be paying off. You have speaking gigs and books and all the stuff you going on. What would you say is your, if you're looking at a spend, is what's the ROI, the return on investment for yourself, for your spirit? What was your return on investment if you had to summarize that from that spend?
No. Money-wise, I'm going to have a return on investment when I'm 94 and a half years old. but on a personal level, you learn so much about yourself. You learn so much, obviously, about the world. But the most important thing is learning about yourself is rather important, but meeting a lot of people. I mean, making friends around the world, taking part in their activities and, learning about their everyday life. I think that's you can't put a price on that, or that means so much. And I think that's one of the things I appreciate most about traveling is to engage with people around the world. I mean, the people who actually live there. And I understand that some people are nervous about traveling and they want a guidebook, and they're a bit shy, so maybe they don't get in touch with locals. But then it's sort of all about observing. You take photos, you get loads of likes on social media, but you never engage. There's no participation there. Maybe you travel with someone else from your own country, and then it's much, because then you're a group, so it's harder to get in touch with those people that actually live there. They are experts, needless to say. I mean, if you want to do something in Oslo or in Colorado or wherever you're from, well, ask a local who lives there, who knows what the cool stuff is. Don't read a 2 or 3 or 4 year old guidebook that was written by somebody passing through. It goes without saying. Even though, of course, guidebooks can be a nice tool for some people.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hate them though. If I find a guidebook, I never buy them. If I find one on a train or something, I go through the guidebook to find out where I should avoid going to.
That's an alternative use for a guidebook. I actually like guidebooks. I think they're good for inspiration for the trip, and I like. There's some good practical stuff in there with like safety tips and things like that, like common scams and stuff like that.
Definitely.
You can always find that stuff online. It's kind of good to know some of that stuff, but.
But if you have a guidebook,
yeah.
just don't. Let's say you're sitting on a bus going through a country, or from one city to another in this country, and you're surrounded by locals. And instead, you're sitting there reading, Lonely Planet Rwanda or Lonely Planet Paraguay or something. That's like an insult to those people. I mean, there might be a language barrier, which is fair, but at least try to reach out to the locals. They know so much more than what is written in that guidebook.
The every country in the world twice thing, I do want to make a distinction so people understand, because this is a whole, let's call it a subgenre of travel, like traveling to every country and ranking people and how much they've traveled and things like that. And that's all well and good, but as we were talking about before we were recording, some of those people are just, driving through, we use an example of a guy that drove through 10 regions in one day just to kind of check the boxes. And that's not you. That's not your style of travel. So when you say you've been to these places, it's not that you've popped in and then you've just stepped off the plane, had lunch there and left and went to the next country. You have spent quality time in these places.
Yeah, on average, it's been 10 days in every country.
Yeah.
I've stayed overnight in absolutely all of them, including the Vatican, where there is no hotel.
Yeah, where did you sleep in the Vatican?
Yeah, on the street,
Okay,
so I made
right.
friends with other people sleeping on the street, so we kind of bonded. So that was kind of a thing. They have a guest house in the Vatican, but unless you're a state leader or very high up in the Catholic Church, you're not going to be invited there. And I mean, I was in Norway, we have a state church. church. So I was confirmed at my confirmation at the age of, 15 or 16. But of course, that the Protestant church is not the, Catholic one.
Right.
I guess I didn't qualify, so
No.
slept on the street.
They let you stay in the street.
But of course, I have done some crazy, stupid, excuse my language, such as trying to visit as many countries as you can in 24 hours. There's a world record of doing 19 countries in 24 hours, and that's something I wouldn't count. I wouldn't call that traveling even. So that's sort of a logistical record,
Right?
And so those countries I've been to at least twice before. So because then you're in one of the countries, Kosovo, for instance, we were in for 2 minutes just crossing the border, and getting a stamp and a photograph, and then on we went in order to achieve our goal of setting this world record.
Like you said, it was a logistical record.
Exactly. So it really doesn't.
That's not exactly aligned with. Yeah, it's not aligned with what we were just talking about.
No. So that's something totally different. It's it might be stupid, but it's really nice to go with some friends and achieve something that no one has ever done before.
Yeah.
But a waste of money in some ways. But we had a hell of a party afterwards. You know?
Before we get into this list, I think it's really cool for people to know you're working on a really interesting book. You always come up with these great, I think, ideas and approaches to travel, and this one is a unique one. I haven't seen it done before. The book you're working on, can you?
Yeah, so currently I'm writing a book about the three main circles around the globe. It's about the equator. It's also about the Arctic Circle and the Antarctic Circle. So I'm traveling to the countries and places alongside these circles, and I'm talking to local people. And the source of the common theme is how global warming or climate change is affecting these people, if it is affecting them at all. And then I'm trying to compare, what people are alongside the equator, some of the hottest places in the world, compared to people living up north in the Arctic. How is warming climate affecting them compared to people alongside the equator? And of course, the Antarctic Circle, it only crosses Antarctica on a couple of places. So there's not going to be anyone living there permanently, but there are some bases and people I speak to that work there.
Yeah, and so you're going to all these countries on the equator. How many countries are there?
Around the equator, you have 13 countries, and alongside the Arctic Circle, there were 8.
Yeah,
and down south, only Antarctica. Okay.
So, all of this is to say, as you can hear, clearly a travel expert, as I said in the beginning. So this list isn't just, coming out of some random research on the internet or whatever. This is like real world travel experience. You are the most traveled person I know, and you are the person that's traveling the most out of anybody I know. So I was really excited that you took the time to put this list together. And I guess we should just frame it up a little bit. When we say up-and-coming destinations, what does that mean to you? And these aren't places that maybe there's some tourist infrastructure. It's not like nobody's ever been there, obviously, but they're on the rise, let's say, in terms of a place to go, maybe a place you should get to before the masses discover it. Would that be?
I would say that's accurate. And also we see that more and more people are traveling again now after the pandemic. I mean, the levels are almost back to or even higher than what they were before the pandemic. And a lot of people are traveling. They're doing the sort of the tourist route around the world. They're doing Bali and Indonesia. Even though, Bali is awful. It's so touristy. Whereas Indonesia is incredible. There's so many nice places. But, we are kind of sheep in many ways, follow the masses, and we do exactly the same as everybody else. It's also like copycat tourism. So I saw something cool on TikTok or on Instagram. I'm going to do exactly the same thing. Instead of thinking, I saw something cool on TikTok. So, okay, maybe I could adjust that a little bit and do something different. That's maybe even better. And maybe I can be, maybe I can influence other people instead of being a follower. And I see we're seeing more and more of that. More and more people, luckily, are thinking a little bit outside the box. They're growing more independent travel-wise, and they're looking for places a little bit out of the ordinary, or at least not necessarily countries, but regions or islands or mountains or rivers or whatever. And we're seeing some countries that are investing a lot of money in infrastructure, and that's good in many ways. It's bad in some other ways, but it's all about being balanced. And we're seeing over tourism in so many places, which is really bad for almost everybody involved, locals and tourists alike. So I think it's good to spread tourism. We're also talking about money here, the incomes of a lot of people. So let's spread this out to more communities and help them grow. I think that should be one part of traveling.
Yeah, that's great. And obviously all of these places are changing and evolving constantly. And to kind of get the jump on some of these places, in real time. You can hear people tell old war stories like, I remember when I was, in Costa Rica in the 90s or whatever, and it's so much more established now. But, and people say, I wish I could have been there then. That would be cool. Well, listen up, because these are those places now that in 10 or 20 years, people would be like, it would have been so cool to go there then. Let's get into it. Where do we start? I know you haven't really necessarily ranked these, but we might have a bonus one too. We'll talk about that. I don't know all of these. I heard you guys talking about them. You were kind of brainstorming the list, but I didn't catch all of them. So this is kind of new to me, which is cool. But where do you want to start, man? You design this as a little trip around the world?
Yeah. I
mean, that's kind of the nature of your podcast, right? You take people around the world. It's in Norwegian. We can link to it, but...
Yeah, most of it is in Norwegian. We have some episodes with English-speaking guests.
Okay, we'll link to it.
Let's start in your neck of the woods in North America.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
The USA? Up-and-coming destination?
Well, exactly. I only said North America. I didn't say the USA. There are 23 countries.
We say USA. USA.
Yeah,
we automatically think... No, I'm kidding.
I've heard about this.
You're engaged to an American now, so you understand.
When we met, and that's 1 year ago tomorrow, actually.
Oh yeah, wow.
Yeah, so we're having some,
Yeah.
And as we got together and fell in love and everything, and I told her, I was never going to go out with an American, and she said,
"Why is that?"
Yeah, and she said, "Me neither." So
she's in the other room, by the way.
Oh yeah, I know. She's listening. No. I've lived in the United States twice, and I have a lot of good American friends. But also, when you look at, let's not get into politics too much, but one of your political parties has gone absolutely off the rails, and I really don't appreciate that way of what your country have let's say grown into, or let's say fallen into. Maybe it's so divided in many ways, and human rights are being, let's say, challenged. There are lots of weapons all over the place, mass shootings, and so I don't really appreciate that half, or that's 25% of the United States.
Right.
Maybe I should leave it at that.
Understood. Well, I mean, it's. I do live in Norway, Gunnar.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
say no more.
All right, North America.
North America, yeah, one of the 23 countries in North America. Now, we have a country that's relatively touristy, or it has tourist pockets at least, the Dominican Republic. But I would like to suggest to go to the northern coast of the Dominican Republic. It's amazing for kite surfing. There's brilliant beaches, lots of really good restaurants. You have oysters, you have seafood, you have vegetarian dishes, lots of good meat. So there's something for everybody there. Language-wise, there's no problem in Dominican Republic. Most people speak English, even though Spanish is their official language. But I mean, stay out of the touristy cities like Punta Cana. On the east side, Santo Domingo, the capital, also nice. But I would still recommend the northern side of the country.
Yeah, okay.
And
you guys
as a
were
bonus,
just there, right?
Sorry.
You were just there.
Yeah. I was just there as well.
Yeah.
On the way to South America. Jackie's father lives in Dominican Republic, and so he showed us around and some hidden gems around the country. And if you want something more, let's say something more adventurous, do check the updates on the security here. But Haiti is next door on the same island, and there are a lot of security issues, especially in Port-au-Prince, the capital. But Haiti as well, an incredible country. So that's sort of a bonus if you would like to venture outside the Dominican Republic.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this at dinner, meeting the in-laws for the first time, or one of the in-laws.
I guess that's his new title, isn't it?
Yeah. What happened when you told him that you were gonna go talk to some guerrilla warfare type of people in Colombia?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I told him, yeah. So Mike, yeah, we're going to South America. Yeah, wow, I like South America. What are you doing there? No, well, I'm researching this book. So I'm going to interview this guerrilla leader in Colombia. With my daughter? Well, I'll keep her safe. And, so, and then I can't remember the next 2 hours. He beat the shit out of me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Kind of.
Yeah.
No, we're still friends.
Yeah, okay.
I think.
Yeah, okay, yeah. You're still allowed to get married.
Well, apparently, yeah.
That's great. Great kickoff. Dominican Republic, Northern Coast.
Yeah, and but the good thing about some of these other places you can fly into is that you can find some cheap flights going there. So even Punta Cana, even though it's all the way on the East Coast, you can fly in there if you find a cheap flight, get a rental car or use public transport. Although the buses aren't great all over the country. But look it up. Most people will fly into Santo Domingo. You can fly into Santiago, which is very near the north coast. You have Punta Cana, and you have a couple of other airports, international airports.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So that's also some budget potential saving tip as well.
Indeed. All right. What do you got next?
Yeah, let's go down to South America.
Do you need a bite of your pastry, by the way? I know we're drinking coffee and eating pastries here.
Well, you brought pastry, yeah.
If you need it's just what you guys bake some or something. But,
yeah.
If you need to take a break and get
I'm
sugared up, go ahead.
good. I had some sugar.
I want you to get through this.
Can't you tell? Some sugar and coffee. So it's always needed to get us going
Absolutely.
in the morning. So let's go down to South America. The continent with the fewest number of countries, only 12. But it's a vast continent. It's really, really exciting. And I'm going to talk about something that not a lot of people have done, but we're seeing a growing number of foreigners actually traveling with local transport on the Amazon, the river.
Yeah,
and this is something you can do. You can take a small trip on the Amazon, or you can travel down all of it or most of it. If start in Peru or Colombia or even in Ecuador, and you go downriver, and you will end up in Brazil eventually. So either start in Peru, Ecuador, and Colombia, or somewhere in Brazil, Manaus. It's a huge city in the middle of the rainforest. It's sort of half. It's 1/3 or 2/3. We're looking on the map here. 2/3 downriver, approximately. Around 2 million people living there. So you have international flights. So you can get cheap flights going in there. And from there, if you travel downriver, you will eventually get to the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah. Okay.
Of course, traveling downriver is faster than traveling upriver for obvious reasons. So again, if you want to go upriver, just set aside more time. The speed is not great. You travel on these old ferries. You need to bring a hammock, or you pay extra, and you can have your own cabin, air conditioned, and all the rest of it. But if you want to meet the locals that travel this way, you should definitely stay in a hammock. On the top of the boat, they typically have a bar. And we were there on a Friday and a Saturday, and it's really happening in the bar. We were sitting next to two girls. She was just reading a book, and a couple of hours later, she was really snogging this other guy. So there's apparently a place where you can hook up. Find someone.
Yeah, not much privacy, because when you sent me the picture. When you say there's hammocks up there's not much space in between them. How many hammocks do you think were
Yeah, well, we took two ferries. So the first one was probably 3 or 4 times as big as the second one. So it was from Manaus down to Santarém, if you go to Google Maps or some other map, and that's about a 30-hour run downriver. And on I don't know how much, probably like 300, maybe 200, maybe 200. And on the next boat from Santarém to Macapa, took a little bit longer, 32, 33 hours. On a much smaller boat, so maybe on that one, maybe 100 or 80 hammocks.
And
or
are you stopping on the way as a train would or a bus
Yeah.
would and picking people up?
Yeah.
And do you have time to get off, or is it just like a cruise where you're...
No, you don't really have time. I mean, you can jump off and back into the boat. Then you have 2 minutes, on the ground. You're not
The
really allowed to
experience
do
is
that.
being on the Amazon.
Yeah, it is. And of course, you can split it up. So you can stop, and you should, if you have the time, you should stop in smaller villages to get a feel of those instead of only the big cities. But, Manaus, as I mentioned, it's a huge city with loads of restaurants and very nice hotels. There's a lot of trips and tours by boat or by chartered airplane or whatever out into the jungle. There is a road going north and one going south as well. So, you can drive here and there. But it really feels, in the city, it feels like a normal city. But, on every side, you have the jungle and you have the river running through it. Santarém, it's smaller, so much more cozy, and it feels safer, fewer people. But also a lovely atmosphere and plenty of stuff to do with possibilities to take excursions here and there. And also you have the pink river dolphins. They're everywhere. They're jumping like crazy.
Wow.
And that's so cool.
Wow. Yeah.
So, you should definitely bring some camera gear with zoomable lenses or something if you want close-ups. And sometimes they swim alongside the boat, like sort of speeding or showing off that they can swim a lot faster than the boat can go.
What did you like about the experience?
No, it's getting close to people. It's traveling how normal people, if you like, in this part of the world, how they travel. This is their highway.
Yeah.
The Amazon
were
is
there
their
not
highway.
many other tourists on the boat?
Not many. There are a few.
Yeah.
And a few years ago, there was virtually none. So this is, it has by no means exploded.
Up and coming.
It's definitely up and coming. And it's really strange to see. Manaus, 60, 70 hours upriver, or, longer when you're going upriver. But you see huge oil tankers and cargo ships and everything. I've gone all the way from the Atlantic and all the way up to Manaus. It's really a big river with a lot of traffic. And just seeing this and experiencing this, and preferably you should be stopping a couple of or several places alongside, along the river. You really get a good feel of it. And you can also venture further into, or start further upstream and go down if you have time.
If you were going to stop, would you just kind of randomly do it? Just say, hey, this looks good, let's say, or would you maybe plan that ahead?
Yeah, no. Well, maybe check that there is some accommodation there.
Yeah.
But people are really friendly. You probably sort it out one way or another.
Yeah.
People invite you, or if you have a hammock. You probably have a hammock because you're going on a boat anyway.
Right.
So you be sorted. Further up the river, I was also in São Gabriel. It's a smaller town.
Yeah.
Further up the river in Brazil. So from there and down to Manaus is about 48 hours on one of these ferries.
Okay.
They have a beautiful beach. It's like being by the ocean, but it's so white and nice sand. And so people are on the beach every night. They're drinking, they're hanging out, playing music.
Yeah.
People are swimming before
Beach
dark.
town vibes.
It really is in the middle of the Amazon. So that's one
cool.
One possibility to get even closer or even further into the rainforest, if you like, and on the border.
How much was the ferry?
The ferry is typically $30 for
for the whole ride.
Night. Yeah, for 30 hours. So it's about $1 an hour.
Compare that to just Google Amazon cruise or something.
Yeah.
They have these package tours. It can cost thousands of dollars. Yeah, of course it's a different standard, and you're stopping and things like that, but.
It's definitely a different standard, and these exist, and especially in Manaus, you can get lots of these. You get really nice cabins, it's air conditioned, you might even get your own chef and all the rest of it. But you pay top dollar for that. and some of them will take you in to meet tribes in the jungle. And then it turns out I spoke to one tour guide and I asked how much he was charging, and it was insane amounts. It was like $13,000 for $13,000 for a 5-day trip for a couple of people, which is to me relatively insane. And then he showed me some photos of the tribes, and some of them are, but these you're not going to be able to meet because they live too far in, and they don't really want visitors. But the tribes you're being taken to, they have houses that are similar to our houses. They will possibly show you some more traditional houses which they don't really use anymore. They wearing clothing like us, like Manchester United shirts or
right.
or Red Sox shirts or something like that. And so they seem exactly like us, but they live in the jungle, and you pay top dollar to come to visit some of these. You need permits to be able to visit most of the tribes there. If you don't speak Portuguese, then you really need a guide to sort this out for you. So that, of course, can be one reason to pay a lot of money, maybe.
Yeah. There's some things in travel that I feel there's certain things that I'd love to experience, but I would like for them to happen organically, and if they don't, that's okay too, kind of thing. Kind of being at peace with that rather than paying top dollar for. I'm using that as an example, right?
Yeah, it's also like manufactured fun, if you like.
Yeah, right.
And it doesn't really feel real, and there's a lot of money here, and the tour operator is probably taking 90% or even more of the money. And it's I don't know, it gets this sort of a bad taste in your mouth. So I really don't like those kind of trips. But to many people that might be the only way to meet locals. In São Gabriel, I was there just coincidentally. I was there on the annual tribe party, and all of the different tribes, or not all of them, but I think there are 23 tribes around São Gabriel. And at least 15 or 18 of them were doing like huge dances. So it was like a dancing competition.
Oh, wow.
They're all dressed up in costumes. And so first you have a dance. You have the people, the judges. They're making sure.
You can actually say the Norwegian word to me if you forget. And
Domarana.
Yeah, there you go.
So that was incredible. And then afterwards you had live bands on stage. That was outdoor. And people are drinking and huge barbecues and
very festive and just
very festive. So I got in the middle of this thing. So I met loads of people from different tribes. And again, as I said, they look exactly like us. The skin color a tiny bit darker, but clothing wise, exactly like us. And they're driving cars, they're living in normal houses or flats, most of them. But we have this notion, this romantic, nostalgic notion that all the natives in the Amazonas, they live in huts in the middle of the rainforest. Very few of them actually do. And then at the end, it went off in Macapá. It's actually on the equator, very close to the Atlantic. And there you have, if you're into sports, you have a stadium. A football stadium, and on the middle line of the field, that is exactly on the equator.
Really?
It is.
Wow.
Fantastic.
That's so cool.
So you have one team defending the northern hemisphere, and you have one team defending the southern hemisphere.
Wow.
So we want to check this out because I like kind of quirky stuff like this.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, it's what makes the world interesting. Right?
Absolutely.
to know that there's a soccer pitch somewhere right on the equator. That's
and there's a big, there's a place. There are thousands of spectators. There's place, seating for thousands of people.
Yeah.
And there's lots of planning gone into this. They've really been thinking it through.
Yeah.
I just love this.
Incredible.
So, and you can walk in. There are no gates or anything. You can just walk in. And of course, I had to run around the mid-circle a few times just to say, okay,
sure.
Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere, Northern Hemisphere. So
you become like a 10-year-old kid.
Yeah, well,
it's
happens
so
a lot
is it
with me.
winter on one side and summer on the other side? If you get cold, you just kind of migrate over to the other side of the stadium.
So if you stand one foot in the north, one foot in the north, 1 foot in the south, and
I'll stop with the bad jokes.
Well,
okay. All right, that sounds incredible, man. All right, I mean, when I saw the hammocks and the boat and the thing, and I'm glad that this was on the list because that was something I was like, oh, I want to do this one day. So,
yeah, and
really
just
cool.
to finish that off on the boats, they have clean toilets, like a lot of toilets for male
that was
and
the first
female.
thing I asked Jackie. I was like, how are the toilets?
Yeah,
She was like,
no, they're
surprisingly
cleaned.
clean.
They're cleaned all the time, and there's a shower in there as well.
Yeah, okay,
Staying clean,
Yeah,
so to
right.
speak, it's not a problem.
No.
So it is very hygienic and it's totally fine. And if you want to, you can have, but that's much more expensive. Like it's probably 5 or 10 times higher. The price is 5 or 10 times higher than a hammock. But then it can get your own cabin with your own bathroom and all the rest of it. But then you don't really hang out with the others.
Right.
You don't meet them. Your hammock is not touching the other one when there's waves or a wind or whatever.
That close, yeah.
No, it's very close. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, very cool. All right. What do we have next?
Well, let's cross the Atlantic, shall we, and go to Africa, Namibia. And I think Namibia, it's a very exciting country. It's you have some of the highest, or even the highest sand dunes in the world. It's good for extreme sports, parachuting and hang gliding, snowboarding on sand. A lot of possibilities for that. It's a very developed country. It's safe. A lot of us go to South Africa, but Namibia it feels and is much safer, and also very well developed. You have possibilities there are national parks, a lot of sand, but you also have national parks in the north. You have a huge seal colony on the coast, which is really fascinating. You can just walk alongside the seals, like what do you call it, puppy seals, and big grown-up ones. But the smell is awful.
Yeah.
They're
they
so
have an
cozy.
Interesting smell, huh? There's seals, and you can smell them from a ways away.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But they're so cute, though. You can take so many amazing photographs, and it's so nice for the people watching those photographs that there is no smell functionality with photographs. It smells awful.
Smell-o-vision hasn't been invented.
So you just have to throw away your clothes afterwards, or throw them straight into the washing machine. Otherwise, you will not make any more friends, in Namibia. But it's a great country, and if you want to, you can also cross into Botswana. It's great for safaris. It's less known than the most famous ones: Tanzania, Kenya, and South Africa. Some amazing safari possibilities in the neighboring country.
Yeah.
But Namibia, top spot. You have Windhoek, which is in the middle of the country. It's a nice capital, but alongside the coast, you have Walvis Bay and Swakopmund are two small towns that are quite nice to hang out at.
Yeah.
Hang
Okay.
out at.
And pretty easy to travel around.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd probably recommend getting a rental car or hire a car with a driver. You can get those, just ask around, and you get good prices on both of those.
Okay. Yeah, I just read yesterday about Namibia. They have, I think it was only 2.5 million people in the country, so it sounds like it's very spacious in that way. In terms
absolutely.
of, not a lot of
Not a lot of
congestion.
Not a lot of anything really.
Yeah, right.
but the people there, they're very friendly. You also can see penguins in Namibia.
Wow.
So they occasionally migrate that far north. Most of them are typically based outside Cape Town in South Africa. So it's also easy to combine. If you go to South Africa, fly in or take a bus from Cape Town or elsewhere in South Africa. So it's an easy country to get to.
That makes another great point, is that if there's a sort of a high level place of interest that a lot of people travel to, like Cape Town, you can piggyback something like this onto a trip like that and have those experiences at an up and coming destination, but still have part of your trip somewhere like that, Cape Town, if you wanted to go see that.
No, for sure. And I mean, a lot of people want to see Cape Town. It's a wonderful city.
I've heard it's amazing.
By all means. And the same, we mentioned Bali earlier. Yeah. Okay, so you really want to go to Bali. Okay, if you really want to go to Bali, go to Bali. But okay, maybe 2 or 3 days, and then explore elsewhere in Indonesia instead of hanging out there for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I think, always think this way. If everybody goes to Bali or everybody goes to Cape Town, okay, take a hint.
Yeah.
Don't do the same as everybody else.
Right. Yeah.
Minimize the time there and try to be more original, perhaps.
Yeah, cool. Love it. All right, we got We're on number 4 now.
Oh, yeah.
Already.
Well, I know. This is this is a fast way of traveling, Jason. But I think we, so as you might realize, we're popping by every continent here. Well, except Antarctica. So we're going to Europe.
I would expect nothing less
No.
of you, Gunnar.
We have to spread the pleasures
In
here.
true Garfors fashion.
So we're going quite far north, almost directly north. We're going to a vastly underestimated country in Europe, I would say.
Okay.
Romania.
Yes.
And it's got everything. You have big city life, a really happening town in Bucharest, the capital. Amazing nightlife, incredible food, a lot of really good wines. They make very good wines in Romania. Nobody's even heard about Romanian wines, or most people haven't, but there's a lot of quality there. You have Dracula land, if you know, Transylvania, with incredible mountains, fantastic scenery, so many possibilities for hikes. You have old castles, including the Dracula castle, known from the novel. And you also have beaches by the Black Sea. There are beautiful beaches as well. So Romania is a country that's got everything. It's got a bad reputation lately in several countries around Europe. You have people from the Rom community. Not all of them are from Romania, but they're typically begging in a lot of European cities, and there's some petty theft that's associated with them. I'm not saying they are committing this necessarily, but that's the reputation they have. So typically a lot of people think that this is Romania. But Romania is so much more, and it's a truly fantastic country to go to.
Do you have like a special memory from?
Well, so I have 5 friends of mine and me. We have this what we call travel club, and so
this is great.
Yeah.
This is a great idea. This is one people can steal.
Oh yeah. No, it's copyrighted actually, so you cannot do this. No, so we have this. We just it's not very original, maybe the name, but we just call it the travel club.
Yeah.
And the first rule of travel club: do not talk about travel club.
Right.
So I'm breaking the rule
Already.
right now. Like the Fight Club. But there are 6 of us, all good friends. We used to work together back in the days at the Norwegian Broadcasting Corporation, and we all like to travel. So we decided to travel once a year, but we wanted to do it a bit differently. So every year, one of us is in charge. And all the 5 others have no idea where we're going. We put some money into an account, or into the account of the leader this year, and he will then sort out everything. So we meet wherever, we typically meet in the airport in Oslo. Once we went by train, we went to Sweden, so we had to meet at the train station, and then we're told we're given boarding passes or whatnot, and no, so we're going to, in this case, Romania.
I love that.
So that was my trip to Romania. And so we met in the airport, and I gave them boarding passes. There were no direct flights.
You organized this one.
I organized the
right.
Romania one. So we met them in the airport, and there were no direct flights to Bucharest from Oslo at the time. There is no. So I gave them boarding passes to Vienna. And then I gave them the second part of the boarding pass, Vienna, Baku in Azerbaijan. And especially one of the guys in Travel Club, he really doesn't like countries he hasn't really heard about, including Azerbaijan. And he almost wet his pants. He was he's like, Baku? Where's Baku? No, it's Azerbaijan. So he kind of freaked out. So of course, when we landed in Vienna, and then we go, transit, and they're looking on the screen. So where's the flight to Baku? And I said I had to sort of tell them, now we're not going to Baku, we're going to Bucharest. And the nervous guy, the sight of relief could be heard all over Vienna. Austria was like a big atomic bomb, or the opposite of that.
Echoing through the canyons.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we went to Bucharest. We hired a car. We went to the Dracula castle in Transylvania. A lot of incredible food in Bucharest, and had a great time there.
Nice. I love that travel club concept. If anybody's listening and want to steal that with their group of friends, it's just it's something exciting about packing up for a trip that you have no idea where you're going.
We have a word for this on the west coast in Norway. We call it a blue trip.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't know why it's called a blå tur or blue trip.
Yeah.
But that's what it's called. So typically
Really?
people do
Okay.
this within Norway or within their city or
Yeah.
wherever. So you go and you typically have good food, good drinks, but we've taken it a step further, and it's a really good excuse to meet. And we have to set aside one more time during the year, and that's typically around Christmas. So we call it the Christmas party, and that's when we decide on the date. Because, I mean, people have kids and wives and all the rest of it, dogs or whatever.
Right.
And, so we have to find this one weekend or long weekend where
the
we can
magical,
actually...
The
But of course,
magical
at the Christmas party, this Christmas meeting, that's great fun as well. And we find a nice restaurant in Oslo and tell stories and lie a lot and all the rest of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm going to plan a blue trip for my wife for her upcoming big birthday next year. Yeah, I can't.
What's the big birthday?
Can't mention it. 40th.
Oh,
yeah, I can't,
nice.
can't mention anything about it here, but I got some ideas. I'll have to talk to you about it offline. But yeah, we did it once. She took me to. I was really annoyed because I was in Norway at that point for I don't know how long. I'd been back and forth for like a year or two, you know. And it's fun to go to a new country that you'd never been to, and I still hadn't been to Sweden.
Oh, wow.
I'm just like, this seems ridiculous. How have I not been to Sweden? I got to go take a trip to Sweden at some point. Anyway, she organized a trip to Gothenburg
nice.
One weekend. So she said, meet me at the train station. You know, it was kind of like a Jason Bourne thing. Like, don't ask questions. You know, meet me at the train station. Don't ask questions. I'm like, okay, what's going on?
Were you blindfolded?
I wish.
Yeah.
TMI. No, I'm kidding.
Fantastic.
No, but that would have been good. So yeah, so we went there, and it's fun. It's fun. It's a good feeling to have somebody plan everything first of all, and then not know where you're going.
I mean, because
so nice.
Because it's not only about where you're going.
Yeah.
Because the person in charge, or your wife, or on our travel club, he or she will organize everything.
Yeah, and
so the dinners and the excursions, and the activities, and it's amazing.
Yeah,
so
you can just sit back and relax.
Yeah, I love it.
That's why people love package tours.
Yeah, yeah. Well, when you mention
Come
it,
to think of it, let's change this list.
Yeah.
No. Well, I mean, there's a time and a place for that kind of thing too.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. No, for sure.
All right, love it.
So you want to go further east?
Yeah, I do.
Let's go to one of the stans. There are 7 stans in the English language. I mean, stan only means country. So if you look in other languages, you have many more stans. But in Norwegian and English, stans, we're going to Uzbekistan.
Okay.
So there are 5 former Soviet republics that end with stan. Then you also have Pakistan and Afghanistan. Uzbekistan is on the Silk Road. It's a partly mountainous country. It's great for hikes. It's great for archaeology, I suppose. You know, seeing all these old buildings of worship and for trade and all the rest of it. And you have, in particular, you have two old towns. It's Bukhara in the south, and you have Samarkand, which is even more famous, nearby the border to Tajikistan. And it's truly fascinating to walk through these old buildings with tiles covering all of them, colorful tiles. And we were there. We actually met a tile maker. But of course, these break. You know, these buildings are hundreds, almost, if not thousands of years old.
Yeah.
So of course, these tiles don't last forever. So we met a tile maker. So he was making new tiles to replace broken ones. You know, and this is going on. It's gone on forever. A very important job, obviously, to keep them buildings good, beautiful.
I love a good colorful tile.
Yeah,
I know it sounds ridiculous. I actually have a couple at home from Portugal that found this shop that sells these old tiles that have been taken off from, who knows, 16th, 17th, 18th century, these types of things. And I was with a buddy, and he's like, he knew where the shop was, and so we went, and he's like, yeah, you can turn this into like a coaster or something. So that's what I have done. I have a old like 17th century tile from Portugal as the coaster for my water up near my podcast studio.
Yeah,
it's just like some of these little travel historical mementos. They're nice to Like your clocks, for example.
Well, yeah, actually.
They're just a nice, I don't have a lot of stuff like that, but they're kind of nice to have around.
Yeah, and there's always a story behind it.
Yeah.
And Uzbekistan being a former Soviet Union republic, you have old ladas everywhere. We met I was there with a friend of mine, Asbjørn. We call him Dr. Vodka, and my brother Eystein.
Dr. Vodka?
Yeah, don't ask. That's a long story. That's for an entire podcast. You should have him on your show. He's an amazing guy.
All right.
And he, we got in touch with some locals in a bar, and we ended up deciding to go to another bar. This in Samarkand. So it's it's not a huge city, but it's kind of spread out. So driving to a different place, and so 8 of us end up in this little lada. A taxi lada, but so the taxi driver says, no problem. So like 4 people in the front, and including the driver, and 4 people in the back, and off we go. It's like $1 to go to the next place. It's it's
pretty affordable.
Yeah, very affordable.
Is it a place where you have to like bring all your cash, or do they have ATM machines and kind of in that way? Is it?
No, they have ATM machines, but I mean, always bring some dollars or euro in cash just in case.
Yeah.
Problem with the currency is that it takes a lot of space.
Really?
I mean, if you change $100, you get a bag full of money. So that's
literally.
Yeah, literally, yeah. So we had to carry my brother. We dumped our backpacks in the hotel, and then we said no, just had to empty one of the backpacks and fill it with money because there was so much after we exchanged. So
because of inflation and that sort of thing.
Yeah. So it's I can't remember the exchange rate right now, but you get a lot of money, which is kind of cool. But after a while, it gets annoying because it takes so long time to pay.
You literally have to have a briefcase full of money.
Yeah. Or a backpack, or a plastic bag, or whatever you like,
That's crazy.
And if you want, you also have the capital Tashkent up in the north. So for nightlife, gourmet restaurants, and all that city life, that's where you want to go. But it's a great country where you can combine so much of it, and it's very diverse. And you have and they're putting a lot of money into infrastructure. Currently, so facilities are being improved and built, and all the rest of it. They realize they have an amazing country, and they want more people to see it. To travel alongside the old Silk Route and learn about history and such.
Incredible. I mean, it sounds like, looking at the list so far, they're adding infrastructure, but it's not overly complicated traveling in these places. It's not super intense to travel around within.
No, and Uzbekistan, they have a very decent rail system. So you can take trains, from Samarkand to Tashkent, Samarkand to I believe Bukhara as well, and they're building more railway infrastructure and modern trains. Yeah. So you can do sleepers overnight and or travel during the day. Okay. So that's good, and also drivers are cheap. The Lada taxi driver, you can hire a driver to take you long distances without breaking the bank. Yeah. So that's another way of doing it. One good thing or one bonus with this is that the driver obviously lives somewhere, and it's almost always he is happy usually to take you home and let you meet the family, maybe invite you for dinner. Maybe pay a little bit extra for that, but then you get to see Uzbek home. So
that's really cool. Did you get to do that?
Yeah, we did. We also so the driver took us to his family, and we also stayed with somebody else up in a valley at a homestay, and they didn't have any music. They only had the radio on. And it was an old lady, quite big lady. She cooked us a marvelous dinner, and then some song came on the radio. I think it was a British or American song, that I knew, and I was just kind of singing, and then she started dancing and invited me. So I was dancing with this old lady in her own living room.
Wow,
so that was great fun.
What a moment!
Well, it was one of my probably a good thing. This was before mobile phones and being filmed and everything. I'm not a good dancer, let's say.
Now I'm really curious what the song was.
Yeah, no, I can't remember actually. But so the dancing didn't really happen. Most of it happened to some Uzbek song, so it made it even worse for me to dance to.
Oh right, yeah.
But, that's my excuse. My own dancing is bad.
Was it Britney Spears or?
It might have been. Yeah, you never know. It might have been before her time. I can't remember.
Right on. All right, what a list, man! This is awesome. Okay, we got Two more on this list.
Yeah, we do. And we're going to stay a little bit longer in Asia. We're going to go further east, naturally, going to go to South Korea.
Okay.
And I think South Korea is a vastly underestimated country as well for entirely different reasons. A lot of us go to Japan, which is incredible as well, by the way, but more people go there. So South Korea is similar in many ways. They really cherish, what should I say, invention and thinking forward. You know, you've seen they have their Oscar winner. They're really influencing popular culture.
Yeah.
You know, the big
Squid
brands.
Game. Loved Squid Game.
Yeah, Squid Game and the Parasite.
That was intense, man.
Yeah, and you know, this goes worldwide. You have Gangnam Style with Psy.
Right, yeah. A lot of culture.
Lots of culture, but also, you know, technology. You have
Art.
Samsung and LG, you have Hyundai, cars, Kia. So they're really influencing the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So they have
That's true.
the modern parts of it, but really also cherish their history. So you have lots of temples, you have ruins, you have you know, houses and buildings that are hundreds and hundreds of years old. So Korea is a really an up and coming place. Seoul is probably my favorite big city in the world. They have everything.
Really? Wow, that's saying a lot.
Yeah. You know, you know, there's various very distinct what should I say, parts of town or neighborhoods. And, you know, one is, you know, it's the young student kind of vibe. You have one that's the party vibe. You have one, there's a Gangnam in the song Gangnam Style, which is, it's sort of not the industry, but the business hood with expensive restaurant, really nice restaurants and all the rest of it. So it's every hood is sort of competing. They want to be the coolest neighborhood in town. So there's always innovation going on also when it comes to restaurants and food and
so it's like a healthy competition that's really raising the bar for everybody.
And you know, when it comes to hotels and all the rest of it. So, and in Seoul you have what you call a motel, which is really it's a love hotel. Because most Koreans, they live at home until they marry. So, you know, you're in your 20s, you're in your 30s, you still live with your parents, and you don't really want to bring your boyfriend or girlfriend at home, or at least maybe your boyfriend or girlfriend, but maybe not your date or whatever. Right. So, therefore, you go to these motels and you hire nice, cheap rooms. They're really stylish because, I don't know, there are a lot of fetishes out there, I guess. So, you can hire a Roman room, you can have a Roman-style room, you have like being inside a taxi or in a school bus or in a spaceship.
Have you taken one of these rooms? Wait, I know your
no. Yeah, well,
fiance's in the other room, so I don't know. Maybe
that was many years ago with an ex-girlfriend. But I mean, these are everywhere, and they're cheap, and they sound shady, but you know they really aren't, and it's a way for locals to meet and you know hang out and do whatever they want.
It's part of the culture. It's not like a place where you're taking illegal. Whatever.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
I get what you're saying.
Most of those are not bookable online, though, but so you will see them everywhere.
Okay,
So that's a good way to
kind of have to know.
So it's a good way to find a cheap place to stay.
Okay.
But yeah, so and you
food?
have Seoul.
Fantastic food.
Yeah.
I've heard
Korean
the food is incredible.
There, it's one of my favorites, and you can get it super spicy. I'm really into spicy food.
Are you?
I love it.
Yeah.
And Korea, they have some of the spiciest food on the planet.
Do you go for it? Do you go for like the ultimate? Crazy spice, like the I'm going to cry.
I try to, but very few restaurants have managed to do this. I mean, I tried this in Norway.
You can handle it.
I love it. I love it, and I'm pretty good at handling very spicy stuff. So here in Norway, I go to an Indian restaurant and I ask for the spiciest you can get. And typically it's vindaloo, but phal is much, much more spicy. But wow, you want phal? And we're in an Indian restaurant, and yes, can you please do phal? Yeah, we will try. And they come out with the sauce, the phal sauce, and and then suddenly there were 8 people around the table. There are the waiters and the chef. They want to watch me eat.
Was it here in Norway?
In Norway, yeah.
Really?
And they're like, and there's a friend of mine. He was there as well, and he also likes spicy food. So he takes a little bit of it, And he's like, well, bloody hell, that's hot. And I say, I take a little, it's okay. So I just take several spoons of it and just eat it. And the chef like, wow.
Like, this is like the first person coming off the street that could handle like a real.
I think so. But even
spice.
This was not spicy compared to what you get in Korea or proper Indian, let's say an Indian restaurant in India.
Yeah.
But my friend, after the meal, we were waiting outside for him for half an hour. He was in the bathroom.
Really?
So I don't know. He was struggling a bit. So
From the spice?
From the spice.
No kidding.
So no, I do like spicy food. So in that context, South Korea is amazing. You don't have to have it spicy, obviously. If you don't like spices, you ask for a very mild one. Yeah, so I had a friend visiting here, made him some dinner, and he was almost puking because I had a tiny bit of pepper, normal black pepper on his food. So there is different levels of tolerance.
It's so fascinating to me that we all have the taste buds. We all have a tongue. We all have like the same biological setup, but that people can like and dislike so many different things, and people can handle spice and other people can't.
It's really strange. But I mean, it's the same thing with what kind of foods we like or what kind of music we like. We all have ears, but we listen to totally different music, for instance.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, something about that. It's just like it's touching your tongue. I don't know. Anyway.
But also, let's because primarily been speaking about Seoul, but also in South Korea, there's so many other places. I mean, you have another big city, Busan, down southeast, which is wonderful. And if you travel around, there's fantastic infrastructure, loads of fast trains, easy to rent a car or whatever. So there's so much to see. You have the islands on the south coast. There's a small town there, Mokpo. It's an old fisher village that's now grown into a full-size town with small idyllic islands outside. South Korea deserves weeks and weeks, if you have that much. And also you have the most the busiest air route in the world is from Seoul to Jeju Island, which it's a Korean island south of the mainland Korea. And this is where all the Koreans go on holiday.
Really?
So that's...
busiest in the sense that there's multiple...
There are more flights there between those two places than anywhere else in the world.
That's crazy.
So
wow.
It is. So that's... I mean...
Even more than like... I don't know. I think like New York to DC or something. I feel like that would be...
You would think so.
Yeah.
But this one, it's been on that list, top of the list for years and years.
That's crazy. Where do you find a list like that?
Oh, I don't know. I can't remember.
You know all these...
I don't know. You just
esoteric facts of...
Yeah, but if you wonder something, either you ask or you put it into a search engine and you sort of find it. There's always someone that's really on top of these things. And when it comes to the aviation industry, there are so much statistics of so such a list is quite easy to compile. But Jeju Island, it used to be great, but now it's almost too many tourists there. I mean, most of them are Korean. But they're also coming more and more Western and tourist in and Chinese and Japanese. So the infrastructure is almost cracking there.
Yeah.
So if you're going to go to Jeju Island, at least do it off season. I would say, but
cool,
worth going to.
Cool.
So that's Korea in a nutshell.
Awesome. Sign me up, man. I'm ready to take this whole tour.
Yeah.
Let's go. What time is it? Can we get over to the airport? And no, you have a meeting at 1:00.
Yeah, well, I'll make that into a virtual meeting. Easily traveled, eh? So.
Awesome.
And then one more country, and that's in the Pacific, in Oceania, the continent of Oceania, and that's Tonga. It's a small kingdom.
Okay.
Consisting of various islands. It's very small. But I mean, here you have everything. I mean, you have great fishing possibilities. You have beautiful beaches. You have a lot of whales, actually. So it's great for the Northern Islands are great for whale safaris. You have what they call blowholes alongside the coast because you have the waves coming in, and then you have small tunnels going through the rock, made by nature. And these tunnels, when the waves come in, they pressure the water through these tunnels, and then the end of the tunnels go straight up into the air. So it's sort of like
I love a good
geysers,
blowhole.
It's
something about the sound it's a sound that it puts you into a trance.
Yeah,
kind
no,
of.
it does. So I love it. It's so fascinating. And
Yeah.
I just I was there on my own. I'd rented a motorbike or a moped, whatever. They gave me a bike helmet, which was if I crashed with a bike
bicycle
helmet, like a bicycle helmet. So if I crashed with that one, I would have been dead anyway. But I drove out there, and they're quite remote. Some of these blowholes, and I was there for hours.
Yeah.
And I was just watching them and listening to them, and it's so cool.
It's amazing.
But Tonga, they're also known for their feasts, their barbecue feasts. So
Okay.
the average size of a Tongan is relatively large. Let's say that they like their meat. But it's a wonderful country, also relatively off the beaten track, I would say.
Yeah.
But a lot of people they go to Oceania. Its typical stopover is Fiji. Obviously Australia or New Zealand, but
you would be the rare tourist in Tonga.
not many people go there, so you'd be among the relatively few tourists.
Yeah,
There
there's
are
a bit
more
of
and more
infrastructure, but is it becoming more popular?
It's becoming more popular, but it's still not super popular.
Yeah.
So it's and they have very decent hotels. Not huge ones, but semi-big ones. They have guest houses and all the rest of it. So no, Tonga is great. You easily go there from New Zealand, Australia, or Fiji. So I mean, again, if you're going to do the same as everybody else, go to Fiji. But maybe 2 or 3 days in Fiji is enough, and then why not go to Tonga instead for the rest of your trip in Oceania?
Sounds incredible. Is it tough to get around the various islands, or
you have local small planes that will take you there.
Oh, really?
They don't
Okay.
cost too much. Boat wise, then that's more regular. You go down the harbor and talk to people, and there will always be a boat. On most days, there will be boats going up. As far as I know, there are no passenger ships, so you sort of have to haggle with with the cargo ship people to get hitchhike up there. So that's certainly possible.
Cool. Wow.
So that's almost around the world, I guess.
I mean, yeah.
And from there you go back to the US and Dominican Republic, and that's around the world for you.
Are we making any pit stops? I know you had a bonus one in here. Are we gonna talk about? We're gonna save that for another list.
Yeah, well, that's up to you, Jason.
I don't know, man. Well, maybe we can share it, and then we can tease out another list idea we were thinking about bringing into a future episode, and you can let us know if you want to hear it. How about that?
That's a tricky one.
What is this one?
No, okay. So of course everybody has heard about and seen photos from the Maldives.
Yeah.
And you have all these resorts, and the photos are incredible, and all the rest of it.
And you're thinking this must be really expensive.
Yeah, well, and these resorts are extremely expensive.
The overwater bungalows and that sort of thing.
And you get your butler and your own butler and all that, et cetera, et cetera. Your own chef, even if you pay extra dollars. And then this is very, very nice for 24 to 48 hours. And then you get bored. Even if you're there on your honeymoon, and then, you have your bungalow, you have your private beach and all the rest, and just paying so much money. And that's it. And, it's the same view, still the beautiful bungalow, the really nice blue-green water, the fish, you go diving and so on. But you don't really meet anybody. You don't meet any locals there. You don't meet any other honeymooners, maybe in the restaurant. But, they're busy also being on honeymoon. And it's very, very expensive. So so what we did, Jackie and I traveled together on this one. So we went to some, let's say, local islands where people actually live and work. And you have all the way to the south is Addu, ADDU. It's sort of part of an atoll. And here on the same island, you have both the southernmost part of the Maldives and the westernmost part.
Oh, okay.
So that's for those that are nerding, geography nerding. Those are 2 points.
You have not been known to do that.
No. I don't.
Never.
Do that. Never. And also on a neighboring island, you have the highest point of the Maldives, which is 6 meters above sea level. but and I just spoke,
an excruciating hike.
I know, absolutely. But of course, this is because the Maldives is known, or has always been known, for having the highest peak in the world of only 2.9 meters.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next one is Tuvalu with 5 meters. And then the Maldives didn't want to have the lowest high point anymore, so they expanded it. They put loads of rocks and dirt and planted palm trees and everything, and made it 6 meters. So it's higher than Tuvalu's. And then I talked to this geo nerd yesterday, and he knows all the highest mountains in every country in the world, off the back of his head.
Really?
And
Okay.
I told him about this, and that doesn't do it. It has to be proper. It can't be man-made.
Okay, yeah.
So I know. I don't know. It depends on your politics, really. If the highest point in the Maldives is now 6 meters, which is man-made, but it looks natural, or if it's the original point, which
Is
may have been
underneath
covered.
on the same mount.
I'm not sure actually if it's exactly the
Okay,
same
could be
place
somewhere
or,
else,
or not. But Jackie and me, we went to another island, and so if you take the boat, so one of the boats that locals take to Fuvahmulah, and that's one of the best. That's one of the only real islands in the Maldives, because you have a lot of atolls and really small islands or narrow atolls. But one of the few real islands is Fuvahmulah, and it's incredible for diving. Swimming with tortoises, some of the best beaches I've experienced. It's such a nice island.
And places to stay.
Oh, yeah, plenty of guest houses and hotels and restaurants.
And what is it like, just comparative, just to give us an idea of pricing and that experience? What were you paying for?
Yeah, for a guest house there, I think we paid around between $30 and $40.
Yeah, okay.
You can also stay in hotels. So and here you
a far
really
cry from the $3,000 a night bungalow.
I was going to say, yeah. so and you get in touch with the locals. There are restaurants and all the rest of it. So, but the downside to some people living in local islands is that there is no alcohol. So it's a dry country except for resorts. So if you would like some wine with your dinner, so either you have to bring your own and sort of smuggle it in, and you can bring your own for your own consumption, but I don't think the restaurant will let you actually drink it there necessarily.
Yeah.
But then down in Adu, which I mentioned earlier, there is actually a small resort on the island. Alongside where normal people actually live.
Yeah.
And there you can enter and have a wine with your meal if you like to. It's called Equator Village. So that's sort of the loophole there. If you want to live with the locals on a normal island, so to speak, but still be able to have a drink, then Adu is the place to go.
Okay.
At Fuvahmulah, there's no places to get a drink if that's what you're after.
Incredible bonus addition to an amazing list. It's incredible to me to think that like wind or some natural force wasn't able to build anything bigger than 6 meters.
Yeah.
In this place, you would think. I mean, that's not tall.
No, it's not at all.
You would think some combination of forces would make something bigger than that.
Yeah, you would certainly believe so.
Incredible.
But when you talk to people, and the Maldives, it's on the equator, is one of the reasons we went there. And I'm talking to people, and obviously we're seeing the sea levels are rising. They don't have to rise a lot when the highest point is 6 meters in order to make the entire place inhabitable, or even flood the entire place.
Are people? Do you get the sense that they're aware, nervous?
No, because you can't really. Most of them are not, because some of them have heard about it naturally, and they talk a little bit about it. But I guess it's just too much of a big thing to even comprehend that okay, we might actually be flooded. And also the flooding, the rising in sea level is so slow. Not relatively, but from day to day or from year to year, you don't really notice it.
Yeah.
But if you're a scientist and you measure this, then 1 centimeter a year or half a centimeter a year, that's a lot if your highest point is 6 meters above sea level.
Right.
So most people are not. I don't know, maybe there is sort of a self-protection mechanism. They don't really want to face this. But the people I spoke to said, it's going to be okay. It's been like this forever. It goes up and down. And I mean, you can blame education or lack of education, or maybe just a self-preservation mechanism.
Yeah, or
I'm
there's
not
some
sure.
psychology, I'm sure, behind it. These things that are such big...
Yeah, and you also, I think there's some hope in that, the international community and the Paris Agreement, that now we're going to limit the heating to 1.5 degrees Celsius or centigrade.
Yeah.
And maybe there's some hope in, yes, of course we will. And then you see now with El Nino and all the extreme weather situations we've had in 2023, I was like, oops, that's not, and all the ice melting and all the rest of it. This does not make it look good for people in the Maldives and Tuvalu and other low-lying places.
Right.
So really, we really should get our act together, and decrease the pollution that we contribute to. And travel is part of this, but if we only stop traveling, that's going to maybe reduce the CO2 emissions by 2 or 3%. So we really have to stop not stop, but we have to reduce in every industry, in every field. Buy less clothes, travel less by car, fly less, eat less meat. There's so much each and every one of us can do, but we have to do it in every field out there, not only within one specific field.
Yeah. Have you, as part of this book you're working on, have you been talking to climate scientists or?
Yeah, I have been in touch with some climate scientists, but at the same time, this is a book about the people living in these countries.
Yeah.
Because if you talk to scientists and you read the news, you will get a new report every week, probably 9 times a week, saying something about the climate. It's going to hell. It's not going to hell. It's going really to hell, and so on and so forth. And it's like an overdose of various scientists warning us. Which is good. The problem is that we're getting so much of it, so we're kind of just ignoring it in the end. So to me, it's really about talking to the normal people, the local people actually living there, and their views on it. And I'm also in touch with some scientists, but they're not going to be an integral or an important part of the book. That's being done anyway. The scientific approach. So I'm more looking for the on the ground approach, if you like.
Yeah, cool. Man, thanks so much for putting this together. This was so fun to go around the world with you and get your take on these up-and-coming destinations. I think these all fit the bill for what we described as an up-and-coming destination. I mean, I'm looking at this. I'm like, could this be my itinerary? Right here? Just I'd have to.
I think you should tell your wife that, hey, wifey, next time you do a blue trip, how about this?
Here you go. Here, this is all right here. This will be really cheap, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely.
to put together and easy.
Yeah. But I mean, you can do like Thor, the Danish guy.
Yeah.
Just travel by cargo ship. There's no problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, thanks, man. You gave us a lot of travel inspiration today, which you always do. And yeah, if you want to share with everybody, I mean, we already mentioned the website, garfors.com, but would that be the place?
Yeah, on Instagram, I'm Garfors. On TikTok, I'm Garfors.
Yeah.
So on Twitter, I'm Garfors.
Yeah.
So it's my last name, Garfors.
Yeah.
So
we'll just link to it all.
Most welcome to follow
We'll
me.
link to the pod, too, that you have. If you want to talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, I'm doing a travel podcast with a friend, Torkil Gundersen. He's a travel journalist in Norway. Most of the episodes are in Norwegian, but we travel to every country in the world. We're halfway there, 130 episodes so far.
Nice.
But yeah, check it out. Globus. It's called a Globe Roulette. Like a globe.
Global roulette.
Yeah, global roulette.
Yeah.
So Globus roulette in Norwegian. So
Yeah. The English episodes, are they labeled if anybody wants to listen?
Yeah, I think there were only 2 English episodes so far, but yeah, we're interviewing more and more foreign guests, so there will be more. But yeah, we will make sure to label all the English episodes.
Yeah, cool.
For ease of use.
Awesome, man. Safe travels on your next adventure. Want to let people know where you're going, where you're off to?
Well, next trip is going to be to Portugal,
yeah,
and that's sort of on the way to Central African Republic, Congo, Gabon, and Sao Tome and Principe. So those are sort of the, let's say, 6 next destinations, and the last 4 ones are for the Equator book and research for that one. And then we will see where the world will take me.
He's a man on the move. I'll see you in 5 months or whatever.
Or whatever.
Thank you so much, man.
Thank you,
blast.
Jason.
Right.
Fabulous to be chatting with you, as always.
It was awesome. Yeah, thanks. There you have it. What a blast. And I can't wait to have Gunnar back on the show again. As I mentioned, we have other episodes with him in the archives. If you liked that one, you might enjoy diving into some of the other ones. I'm going to leave you with a quote in a moment. First, at the top, I mentioned a hack for prioritizing your bucket list, something to consider. I have mentioned it before on the show and in my newsletter, but since we are doing Upgrade Your Bucket List week here at the Zero to Travel podcast, I thought I'd throw this out there. You could always take a look at the destinations you want to visit and prioritize them based on the stage in life you are in. So I'm a family man right now. Those destinations are going to look different than, destinations I might have wanted to go to as a solo traveler. Maybe that's related to expense. Maybe it's related to other things. It really just depends. And the one thing I always say to people is, if you're younger and you're listening, really prioritize the physical challenges you want to do. If you want to go climb Mount Kilimanjaro, you want to do these big physical challenges, it's not like you can't do them at any age, but of course, it gets harder as you age. And so if you are younger and you're listening to this, definitely prioritize those more adventurous, physical types of experiences that you want to have, because you can always have the other ones later. I mean, that's one of the reasons, although there's plenty of physical adventures in places like Australia and New Zealand, it's a fairly easy place to travel around. And I've been saving that for a family trip or something later in life. And, you can get into a whole debate on should you save trips for later in life or not. Not necessarily. If there's a place you really want to go. But if there are certain physical challenges, I should say, and experiences you really want to do, you might want to prioritize them based on, am I healthy now? Can I do this now? You never know what's going to happen later. So just wanted to throw that out there as a kind of off-the-cuff tip to share as we close this out with a quote. I mentioned that Gunnar is a man on the move. He's one of these guys. He moves more than anybody I know. So I looked around for a quote about being on the move, and I found a couple that were fun, and I'll share them with you. One is from Anonymous. I tell you what, Anonymous has had so many profound quotes over the years. Must have been an incredible human being. I'm kidding. I know. It's not a comedy podcast. That's why. Okay. This one. You can't move to the next chapter of your life if you keep rereading the last one. There you go. And one more from Martin Luther King Jr. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But do whatever you have to do to keep moving forward. Thanks for listening. We got one more episode this week in the destination-themed week, upgrading your bucket list. So be sure to subscribe or follow the podcast wherever you're listening right now to get that. I look forward to bringing that to you. In the meantime, have a wonderful rest of your day. Peace and love to you and yours. Thanks for listening. Cheers.
This podcast has been brought to you by Zero to